Hello and welcome to A Wheel Thing TV. I'm Dave Knoll. This week we're checking out the 2020 or 2019, depending on how you look at it, Toyota Supra. This is the GT. It's an absolute cracker, powered by BMW with a 3-litre engine, pumps out 250 kilowatts and 500 newton meters of torque. Toyota's reborn Supra, based on a BMW chassis with Toyota's bespoke bodywork. Underneath that bonnet, a 3-litre BMW 6-cylinder, a straight 6, in keeping with the Supra tradition. The looks are the most polarising part of it on the outside. It's got all these little gaps and little bits and pieces, and of course around you've got this Z4 style rear wing, and it really is a matter of opinion personally as to whether you think it's a pretty car or not. And it's not big, it's only 4.3 metres in length, but it looks longer because of that very low roofline. So Toyota's reborn Supra here at the home of Australian motorsport, Mt Panorama in Bathurst. We're doing a nice easy lap. There's some roadworks going on, and the posted speed limit on a normal day 60 kilometres an hour. Because this isn't my car and because I'd like my licence, that's exactly what we'll be doing. But it does give us a chance to sample the circuit in a high performance bespoke sports car. Even though people will say it's not a Toyota because it has a BMW engine, well, it doesn't really matter. It's all about the heart that drives the car. As we make our way up towards the top of the mountain here, a nice easy drive through, and the suspension, we're in normal mode, we're not in sport mode at the moment because it just holds the gear a little bit too long, a little bit too buzzy. And as you can see, there's that sign saying there's a sign, prepare to stop. It's a very taut suspension, probably erring towards the side of harshness more than anything, and that's on every surface. It will be quite bumpy, thumpy on normal roads. This is quite a smooth road, as you'd anticipate, being a racetrack for a few days of the year. And what we're feeling is quite a smooth ride, but hit a bump, and sometimes even in a curve when you get a little bit unsettled, you can feel the rear just skip across. It just lacks that little bit of lateral stability. But I'll tell you what, when it's on a smooth surface and pumped hard through a corner, there's superb grip. It just refuses to let go, hangs on like it's super glue and Velcro and baby snot and everything else you can think of that's all nice and sticky. Coming up towards Skyline, the top of the mountain. Remember being up here quite a few years ago and watching a helicopter fly below our eye line, and just an amazing experience. You see this incredible vista that we have looking back towards Sydney and the other side of the Blue Mountains coming west from Sydney. The circuit's also home to driver training. There's quite a few companies that come up here and do a few laps of cars. Mercedes, for example, their AMG driving team come up here quite a bit. And of course the famous Brock Skyline. It's been a while, hasn't it, Peter? We remember him fondly as we come down towards Cutting and the S's. Coming down into the S's now, this beautifully tight set of left and right handers, the dip here. As you can feel, the car just moves away from underneath, and you can feel the steering in the Supra. We're back into sport mode now, just to give it a little bit more life and snap, crackle and pop from the exhaust. And you can feel that the steering is actually quite heavy in this particular car. It's probably one of the heaviest steerers that I've had in quite some time, but it does give you a very, very rapid response. The steering rack is almost like you'd breathe on it and you'll get a left or right turn. Down into the final left-hander as we come down into the top end of Conrod, and again just keeping our speed to around 60 k's an hour. You can see you're the very lucky people in one respect that have these properties on either side of the track. And there's Conrod, this big long straight, which now has of course the Caltex kink at the bottom end. This is where some of these cars, especially when they have the 12-hour, can get upwards of 300 kilometres an hour down this straight, and you'd wonder why, if you get to this bump where this car in front of us is now they don't actually seem to take flight. I thought it'd be worthwhile to bring such a vehicle to a location such as Bathurst, the Mt Panorama circuit, of course, a tourist track, or tourist drive I should say, through most of the year. And, for a dozen days or so every year it becomes a proper dedicated racetrack, and now you can see in front of us the cutting, the Liquimolli Bridge. A little bit of a nod to the heritage of this particular car. Of course, the original Supra, effectively a 6-cylinder Celica, going back a couple of decades at least. And now with the proper return of the Mark to Australia, not the limited grey imports that we had a decade plus or so ago. And this just allows us to sort of experience, minimalise as it is, what this particular car could do. And as I just really like to be able to open up around this track, but without prior arrangements or on the right circumstances, just simply not worth it. The left-hander as we go into the chase, that section on the right where Paul Radisich rolled his car many moons ago, and all the drivers came down to check him out, made sure he was okay, which thankfully he was. As we come down to the final turn of this particular circuit, we've just got a couple of drops of rain coming through, which would make interesting times come the September event. Pit lane entry on our left there. Big thanks to Toyota for the lend of this particular vehicle. It's been a little bit of time coming, but we finally got the chance to do it, and do it at the home of Australian motorsport at Mt Panorama, here at Bathurst in the central west of New South Wales. This is the rear end of the Toyota Supra GT. It's a car that with looks polarises a lot of opinions. The other polarising part is that engine. It's a BMW 3 litre. Is it a true Toyota? Well, it's like saying Holden and Chev engines, all that kind of thing. It doesn't really matter. It's a sports car. It promises, it delivers. And for 85 grand plus on roads, that's really all you want it to do. For Will Think TV, I'm Dave Knoll.